Okay guys, this is City the Beat Master back again with another tutorial. Today we're going to focus on the importance of utilizing the left hand and what the left hand is supposed to do. Okay, we're going to make this very simple. The left hand can easily get very complicated very fast. So we're only going to focus on utilizing a kick drum, a snare drum, a hi-hat, and an open hi-hat. Okay, so we're going to use pads 11, 10, 9, and pad 14. All other pads we won't worry about for this tutorial and demonstration. Okay, so if you guys have watched the previous tutorials, you would know that pad 11 houses our kick drum. So let's go ahead and start a recording. Main menu, sample. I'm going to arm this recording. Okay, so pad 11, our kick drum, pad 10, our hi-hat, pad 9, our open hi-hat, and pad 14, our snare drum. We'll go ahead and demonstrate those pads right now. Kick, hi-hat, open hi-hat, and snare. Okay, so those are the pads that we're going to focus on. So, as far as the left hand goes, the first thing you need to understand is where your center focus should lie when it comes to finger drumming. Now, some might say the center focus is the snare drum or the hi-hat. I would never say that the kick drum is the focus, the center point of your finger drumming routines. Because the kick drum has, let's say, unforeseen variables, or, you can really jazz up the kick drum. You can do doubles, you can do triples. It's very unpredictable. The hi-hat, however, and the snare drum are usually locked into the tempo. Now, of course, you have off hi-hats and off snare drums, but for the most part, the snare drum and the hi-hat are going to be very close to being on beat with the tempo. So that's the first thing. You're going to want to make the center of your finger drumming routines the hi-hat or the snare drum. So with that being said, we are leaning towards, if we had to section this drum machine in 4 sections, pads 4, 8, 12, and 16, that would be one section. Okay, 4, 12, 8, and 16, as you can see. We will chop this section in half. Our next section over will be pads 3, 7, 11, and 15. So that's our half number 2. And we're going to chop this one again, and then that will be pads 2, 6, 10, 14. And let's chop it again down to pad 1, 5, 9, and 13. So when I say split the drum machine into into sections, into halves. So the main role of the left hand is to add what I will call a filler note, or as it relates to the actual drum set, sticks. The left hand could control something like an open hi-hat, or a crash cymbal. The reason why you want the left hand to focus on those style and types of instruments is because those styles and types of instruments have a lot of space or air or length to the samples. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate again. We want your single focus to be a pad and sound that is going to keep you on beat. So our hi-hat can mimic our metronome or our tap tempo. The snare can mimic our first beat of the song. On the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So 1 or the 4 or the first or the last beat of the music, while our hi-hat constantly keeps the time of our metronome. So that's just very simple. Now, the unpredictability that comes with the left hand, it's better used for a note that's going to extend over a period of time. Why do you say that? That is because while we section the drum machine into 1, 2, 3, and 4 sections, we have the left hand side section and we have the right hand side section. Now pay attention. The right hand side section of the drum machine will be controlled by the right hand. I'll go ahead and cover those pads. The left hand side is controlled by the left hand, which means the left hand will have to trigger pad number 9, or in this case, our open hi-hat. So the right hand is already pretty much boggled down with the unpredictability of the kick drum and other nameless pads that we have yet to go over in the tutorials. So what that means is, in our diamond formation, our pointer finger or middle finger, which is going to be able to easily access pad number 10 or hi-hat, will have a lot of work to do. If you're going to finger drum and control the hi-hat, you're going to constantly be pressing on this pad as your routine is going on. So the reason why you would want pads 9, or let's just say the rest of the left hand side of the drum machine, to control a note that extends over a period of time, is because you're already sacrificing one of your fingers. And I like to switch between both middle and pointer. So in my case, to be flexible and to really play efficiently, you're going to want to be able to know when to switch between fingers, as I demonstrated that in another tutorial with the right hand. So it's very important switching between fingers, pointer, and middle. And while you're able to switch, you'll be able to play different types of genres and sets at different types of speeds. So you don't want to get boggled down with only using one finger. So that's just a side note. Now back to the main point of how we're supposed to access this pad 9. If you have both pointer and middle fingers controlling, your metronome or your tap tempo pad, which is the hi-hat and snare, chances are you're not as skilled to be able to constantly use your pointer and middle fingers and also trigger pad number 9 with your remaining fingers. So what you're going to do at this point is you're sectioning your hand off into 2 parts. You have the right hand side of your hand and your fingers. You have the left hand side. Most people don't have the efficiency to individually operate the left hand side of their fingers. Pinky and I forget what this finger's called. So middle and right hand side are mainly going to control the tempo, whereas the left hand side is going to be the weaker sets of fingers. And that's just natural. I think most, if not all people, they don't have that type of extra movement in the left hand side of their fingers. So you want to be triggering a pad that you do not have to hit as often. So I'll demonstrate. Hi-hat is going to keep the timing or the metronome of our beat. So if this is our metronome, it's going to be very hard for me to jump over to pad 9 to hit this pad and keep our metronome constant and near perfect timing. So this pad is going to be a pad or a sample that I don't have to hit very often. And I'll demonstrate. Okay. Now, as you can hear, it takes a little while for that sample to finally dissipate because it is an open hi-hat. It has a little bit of length to it, the tail end. As you can see in our meter window. See if you can count how many seconds it takes for that to actually dissipate. Okay. Now try the hi-hat. Much faster, right? So that's the key. If you're controlling your hi-hat, you need a sound on the left-hand side of the drum machine to be a longer sound, a stretch sound, because you can only do so much with your fingers naturally. Unless you're a crazy keyboardist and you have that ambidextrous ability between all of your fingers. It's very hard. And when you do have that ambidextrous ability with all your fingers, it almost changes the style of music that you play, I think, in my opinion. I'm more of a precise type of player. So every finger has a job when it needs to do the job. They don't do the job just because they're able to do the job. And that's the best way that I can explain it. So I'm going to demonstrate utilizing pad 9, which is the left-hand side of the drum machine, which will be longer notes or notes that you don't have to hit that often because your left-hand side, your fingers, are mainly going to be important for keeping the timing of the drum machine. Hence our hi-hat or our snare drum. And remember, the right hand is more unpredictable. Our kick drums, bass drums, and other various snares. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate. Focus on how I'm still keeping the timing. And I'm only triggering when I absolutely have to. Demonstrate again. So I'm still able to attack this pad and have that sample play and instantly go back to my hi-hat. Quick. Very quick. And depending on the sample, it kind of mimics your tempo. As you can see, I'm lifting off of pad 10 completely, but I'm going back to it. But the sound selection almost gives off the same sound on both pads. It sounds like I'm still playing a hi-hat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Notice how I'm hitting the hi-hat on 1 every single time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. When I incorporate the open hi-hat, I'm not going to trigger the normal hi-hat on pad 10. I'm going to completely eliminate it. I'll start 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it still gives off the same type of a sound as if I'm still able to keep my metronome and my timing in my own head. So that's the trick. You're going to want to put a sound here that complements your center focus of your pads. And remember, the center focus was either a hi-hat or a snare. So with that being said, this has been another basic tutorial on the importance of the left hand when it comes to finger drumming and knowing what pads to put where and utilizing the full capability of the drum pads and layouts as it relates to finger drumming. So just to quickly reiterate, you're going to want to look at your drum machine as two halves. The right half is the right hand, the left half is the left hand, and your center focus is going to be a pad, either pad 10 or 14, hi-hat or snare. Pad 9, of course, is going to be controlled by the left hand because pad 9 falls in the left hand section of the pad. And if that's the case, the main goal of the left hand is to keep the timing of the beat or the finger drumming routine, which means the pointer and middle finger will be sacrificed because they're your strongest fingers to control the timing. Your weaker fingers will have to be able to play a lesser, a not as involved role. Generally, a sound or sample that you don't have to trigger a lot or too often. In this case, an open hi-hat. So you can just go on, 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 on. And as you see, I just missed, a hit when I said on. That's because, as I said before, this section of the hand, of the fingers, is the weaker side. It's very hard to try to maintain and remember using a weaker side of your hand. So I hope I've been very clear and as concise as I could possibly be, as this is a more advanced technique, but it becomes a very basic technique the more that you learn and practice your finger drumming. For me, it's just second nature. I can trigger this whenever I need it, but I never let this pad stop me from making my beat and keeping the center focus of my pads. I hope this, guys, has helped you, and I'll see you next time in the next Friendly Drumming tutorial.